Part 76 of Chapter 3. In the time of Sultan Veled, 1284 to 1312 of the Common Era, a young man of the descendants of the Prophet and son of the guardian of the holy tomb of Muhammad at Medina, came to Konya with a company of his fellow descendants belonging to that city. He was presented to Sultan Veled and became his disciple. He wore a most singular headdress. One end of his turban hung down in front to below his navel, while the other end was formed into the shekar aviz of the Mesnevi dervishes. When they had become somewhat intimate, Sultan Veled asked him how it happened that he wore the shekar aviz of the Mesnevis when nobody else but those dervishes wear it. In imitation of their founder, Jalal, the young man explained that his family was descended from the Prophet. The Prophet, on the night of his ascension to heaven, after seeing God and many mysteries, had returned a certain distance, and, as is well known, then went back to intercede with God for his people. He now perceived on the pinnacle of God's throne the ideal portrait of a form so beautiful that he had not hitherto witnessed anything so charming among the angels and inhabitants of heaven. After contemplating the lovely vision in amazement for some time, Muhammad was able to notice that the ideal form wore on its head a shekar aviz. He asked Gabriel what that ideal portrait might portend, which was so attractive in its beauty, to surpass all the wonders he had witnessed in all the 9 heavens. Is it the portrait of an angel, a prophet, or a saint? Gabriel replied, it is the portrait of a personage of the descendants of Abu Bakr, who will appear in the latter days among the people of thy church, and will fill the whole world with the effulgence of the knowledge of thy mysteries. To him will God vouchsafe a precedency, and a pen, and a breath, such that kings and princes will profess themselves his disciples, and he will be a most pure upholder of thy religion, being in every respect the counterpart of thyself in aspects and in morals. His name will be Muhammad, as is thine, and his surname will be Jalaluddin. His words will explain thy sayings, and will expound thy Quran. Well, that's what every scholar and mystic is supposed to do. They're supposed to experience and explain the revelation and inspiration that they've been exposed to. On his return home, the Prophet adopted the form of turban he had seen worn in that ideal portrait, making one end hang down a span in front and binding the other end behind into a shekar aviz. From that day to this, said the young man, the fathers of our family have followed that fashion, so adopted by the Prophet, and we continue to do so. It is said that when Abu Bakr heard this narrative from the Prophet respecting the great descendant that was thus foretold, he gave the whole of his possessions to the Prophet to be expended in God's cause. When Muhammad died, Abu Bakr wept long and bitterly, but the Prophet appeared to him and consoled him by saying, one day I will reappear among my people from out of the collar of one of thy race. The young man continued, from that time onward, our family were on the outlook for the manifestations of the holy personage whose ideal portrait the Prophet so saw. Thank God I have witnessed the realization of their hope. The Konya pilgrims published this communication to all the disciples there present. And I don't know where the one thing comes from, but okay, I'm not seeing the meaning in the footnote, but it doesn't matter so much how you number them. 28 hells, 28 heavens, 28, 7, 9, whatever. Because if every bit makes a difference, and everyone versus everyone else, like, oh, the person who just did one good deed said one more praise of God than you. This is their, you know, they're like a cloud layer above you, and but you notice that something, you know, that sort of stuff. But Islam does not believe in reincarnation. So let's talk about the phrase that's you know, the revival teaching, right? What's all this stuff that Islam teaches about revival figures?